right, you can see here the HeroesCon program guide for 2025. Frank Frazetta is on the left and Butch Geist is on the right. Butch Geist passed away right before HeroesCon began, and he was friends with Shelton Drum, who honored him in that way from one of the earliest works, which Butch gave to Shelton. Then you see that I am thumbing through some Love and Rockets that I picked up. I picked up a stack of these for $100, well worth it. My favorite comic of all time. I think an older man and maybe the dealer as well thought that I was new to Love and Rockets, but of course I have a lot of Love and Rockets collections, but I have lost track of a lot of the newer issues, and several of these issues are completely new to me. I haven't read them yet, and I'm looking forward to it, even though I still haven't read them yet. But love that cover. It's 42. Most of these are pretty much in order. And one of them he mentioned was variant, and I was just kind of amused by the fact that you see, let's eat. They just have they look like they're pregnant, but it's just from overeating. But I was just surprised that Fantagraphics is actually doing variants as well, even though these are quite old by now. They're not exactly recent. See Jaime's beautiful work, and then Beto's. That's a nice cover by Beto. And then we're down to 17. I definitely have these in collections, these stories. Very early Love and Rockets. I don't remember how much this cost, maybe $10. Early Locus and Locos. And then this one was the coup de grace, the piece de resistance #2, which I'd forgotten. It says CX on the cover. I'd forgotten that Fantagraphics. They did publish this, but it was, I don't know, it was under CX or something. They said this was a first printing. So this was $20. Well worth it. Yes, I have seen these stories many times. And this has a Mario story in it as well. And then Comics Can Be Art by Gary Groth. Beautiful cover here. Back cover as well. Think pink. Another pink background. That's a Beto cover. And Jaime gets the back cover with the locus. Poot butt is what Hopi is typically reading. Another beautiful cover. And there's a HeroesCon. Maybe this was the variant. I don't know. Maybe a HeroesCon special. I have no idea. Always have to be careful when thumbing through Love and Rockets. Especially if you get anywhere near Luba and Fritz. And then I picked these up from the dollar bin. As you can see, $6. They were all $6 each. Some of the early Frank Miller covers are just beautiful. There is a big Lone Wolf and Cub deluxe edition that was put out by Dark Horse in late December. You see a head resting on this table. Posted one of these covers on the Facebook group. Several people said they loved the series, and somebody else said that he was really looking forward to it when he was younger, and then just felt like it was misogynist and sexist and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's what apparently Kaz Koike, the writer, is known for. The author of Golgo 13 and Lone Wolf and Cub and many other mega macho tales of Japanese heroism. And now this is Jeremy A. Bastion. I don't call him, just Jeremy Bastion. And I think these were $20 each, these little zines, but you know, they're certainly not cheap to to make, and also he put an enormous amount of work into these sketches, as you can see. See some Batman, some Bane, some Catwoman. So not his normal milieu. This is, however, his horrifying goose. You can see this is number 18 from a limited edition of 400 that he signed. And then this is the second one. As you can see, I mean, Jeremy's elaborate technique clearly takes inspiration from very early 19th century aesthetics and surely was influenced by the likes of Arthur Rackham, Gustave Doré, and maybe even go back to the 16th century, I think, for some Hieronymus Bosch because of the fascination with the grotesque. We had a great conversation while he was signing the books for me. An ode to Hugo Pratt's Corto Maltese, of course. There's the Penguin. I guess the Riddler as well. And we talked about Dune because he said he loves Dune. I love Dune. This was a cover they did for the new Dune series. He said he would have happily done Dune for free, all of the covers for free, because he loves Dune so much. This one is number 299 out of 400. And this is The Cursed Pirate Girl, apparently liked by Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance and Umbrella Academy. And these are the books. This is a soft cover, and next up is a hardcover. Beautiful books, The Cursed Pirate Girl, an actual story. The previous were just the sketchbooks, random commission sketches, which Jeremy is always working on. And I did talk to him about collaborating on something that I really want him for. It would have really just been one page, but too busy. And that's it, too busy. And there you see a sketch, this rabbit-eared stork with a man bursting from its stomach, speaking my name. You can see Robert right there. Pretty amazing. It looks just like part of the book, really. And he spent a good piece of time sketching these little signatures and doing the lettering of my name. When I was there, you know, there was a young couple that was looking over my shoulder when he was signing, and that was about it. But he said he was at Angoulême, and I think he said he signed for like 12 hours straight, signed every book, put a sketch in every book, never got up, never used a bathroom. Pretty amazing. It's kind of a Todd McFarlane-esque sort of story, but it just goes to show, popular in France and also devoted to this. See, once again, spent quite a bit of time just lettering my name and obviously drawing this little original snail to kind of customize the book and make it special. So, and that is the second volume, hardcover, exquisite. Now, this is Krogan's Loyalty by Chris Schweitzer. It was a nice gift from Topham Hayes of the GLC Facebook group, who was at the con as well. And you can see right there, I wasn't there when he did this. He actually drew this. It looks like it's part of the book. It's amazing. He added color and everything in that very short time. Krogan's Loyalty is about two very different brothers growing up in the midst of the American Revolution. And just at a glance, aside from the incredible facility of the art, is that Chris Schweitzer is not afraid to letter some of the balloons with very small lettering to indicate whispering. An old cartooning trick, but it's so effective here in creating immersion in the story. So he's just possessed of excellent storytelling chops. Very nice guy. And then you've got Matt Lesniewski, one of my new favorites. You see his art is absolutely mind-blowing in terms of the detail. He's a very good storyteller. And I spoke to him also about collaborating, and once again, way too busy, but really nice about it. And you can see Faceless in the Family. I forgot, I think I picked this up for $10 from a dealer. It's brand new hardcover. I mean, in condition, brand new. Came out a few years ago. And you can see Matt's amazing detailed work and great figure drawing. And just a very unique perspective. And then there's the excellent on social media. I'm just a big Peter Milligan fan to go along with, of course, Mike Allred. Looking at the art, I wasn't as amazed with. That's a nice page, but it's a little. There's a kind of a translucent veneer throughout that kind of suggests just too much digital coloring by Laura Allred. But I mean, everybody colors digitally, but it just didn't feel weighty, or it felt very much like you were looking. It was almost like reading the book on online in a sense. But I look forward to reading it because I love Peter Milligan's dialogue. And then this is Mark Schultz's portfolio. Mark Schultz was there. He also signed this book. Very soft spoken, yeah. Now again, for Robert Best, Cenozoic Wishes, Mark Schultz. Really nice of him. I guess that's also a signature there. I think this book was 100 or maybe more, but very much a deluxe edition. And you can see, I mean, that's a really great Conan. There's Xenozoic prelim. His prelims are pretty detailed. His pencils are absolutely exquisite. And yeah, you can see here like how interesting that is, like how much he changed. Like looks like he changed it from a panther to a tiger or something, some sort. There's little changes. And there the vases are the same, but then the characters are slightly different in terms of their, composition, in terms of their pose, their postures. Absolutely beautiful book from Mark Schultz, and now it's New York by Olivier Vatine. And I got this for $8. It's half price off the $16, which obviously was marked down. A great buy on the last day of Sunday. And this guy just had everything was down to half price off the stickered price, which was already reduced. And of course, most of the stuff was superhero, and that's what most of the people were buying. And I was able to scrape up this book, and you'll see several other really nice books for just $8 a piece, which was fantastic. You can see beautiful art. I'd seen a little bit of this guy's artwork online, and it's absolutely beautiful. And beautiful artwork and beautiful coloring, this very tasteful European coloring. You can see end pages are even really nice. And that's New York. And then I was delighted to find this. Renee Tardy, again, $16 marked means $8. And you can see this was based on his father's time in a POW camp during World War II. So, and similar to Mouse in that sense, that Art Spiegelman's father, he wrote about his father during World War II, but obviously not done with anthropomorphic mice and pigs and cats. And this is book 2. And this time the end pages have letters, I believe, from his father, Renee Tardy. And very detailed. If you have ever seen Jacques Tardy's research when he's doing this, I mean, it's, just extensive research. Some really disturbing stuff as well, because he's looking at the injuries of men who fought in World War I, World War II. And it's photos of these people. It's horrific, who survive with like their lower jaw blown off and things like that, which is extraordinary at that time period. And I noticed this is when he comes back home, and you can tell that everything is lightened, everything's brightened up a little bit, the color scheme and everything. You've got a little splash of color there even, and you're starting to see little amber Obviously there's a lot more white on the page. Very, very thought out. And then you actually see color. Arden, Taru, Hardy. And then there's some photos. And the end page actually has color again. So things are lightening up now. And this is Shinjuku. That was interesting because this is shrink wrapped, and yet it says the Oregon Public Library. This was a really great buy. It's a $50 book. I believe I got it for $8 as well. Now it's Al Williamson. We're going really fast here. I think I picked this up for $75. This was also at Flesk Publications table where Mark Schultz was. Mark Schultz, of course, is a huge Al Williamson fan as well. But I would have loved for Al Williamson to have been there. Of course, he passed away several years ago. I've got that cover, not the original art, but I do at least have that issue, the original issue. And I love Al Williamson's work. I know it's very much, he loved Buster Crabbe. I know it's very much heavily influenced by Alex Raymond and by Hal Foster. There's just an organic quality to Al Williamson's work, where Raymond's looks so perfect, it can be a little bit antiseptic at times. But Williamson's never has that feel. It's rarely antiseptic. I mean, maybe some of the stuff he did for, phoned in a little bit for Atlas, but even then, I mean, he was just one of the great figure drawing artists of the medium in history, and just beautiful work. This kind of reminds me of his Star Wars work, actually, especially with what looks like all of these meteors. See the beautiful beast. I believe that's from maybe Creepy. And the classic speckled dinosaurs, speckled lizards, speckled everything. Al Williamson was born in Colombia, South America, but of course immigrated to the US shortly thereafter. So, but he spent some time there. So I think that gave him his predilection towards being able to draw jungle stuff, scenes. And now this is Jay Lee, one of the nicest guys I met at the convention. Extremely nice. Bumped into him in the elevator. He was really cool. And I saw him later. Bought these prints from him. Those are $20. And this is from Don Rosa. And Don Rosa is a quintessential Scrooge artist of the modern era. Huge in Europe, less so in America. He was nice enough to sign this. This is based on Weird Science Fantasy number 29, which is the Frank Frazetta cover. And I do own the original of that. And one day, sometime soon, hopefully, I will compare the two. Don Rosa was delightful. And I do have some video of him signing some of those prints. And then this is, these were also from the dollar bin. I should specify those Lone Wolf and Cubs they were marked $6, but they were from the dollar bin, so they were $1 each, thus very much worth it. And you can see, once again, this is Al Williamson now inking John Romita Jr., and this was a phenomenal run. I don't have some of these, so I just couldn't help but pick him up. It was kind of funny. This guy looks very much like O.J. Simpson, a very stocky, square O.J. Simpson. Romita Jr., Al Williamson, written by Ann Nocenti. A lot of people love this run. Perhaps even people that no longer like JRJR, but I mean, look at that. They were getting abstract at times. It was, it was just the imagery is really powerful and interesting and quirky and strange and completely unique. But and Al Williamson just elevates JRJR's work that much more. Look at that. I mean, it's very visceral and weird and, but very satisfying superhero work. And then it falls off. And this is one of maybe the least impressive Mark Bagley, who I've never liked, but hey, I wasn't around when he was starting on Spider-Man, but I thought Spider-Man really must have fallen off a cliff. I think he did get better, but he's no of interest to me. And then I think it goes to Lee Weeks, maybe still inked by Al Williamson initially, and then I think Al Williamson moved on. I like this cover very much, and I believe that is Weeks, and I mean it is Weeks, but I think Al Williamson may have inked that as well. I'm not positive. I can't read it now. Yeah. So these are pretty nice covers, pretty nice interior art as well. Lee Weeks is a very talented artist. Now this is Kieran Dwyer, and Al Williamson also inked that, so it's always going to look better if Al Williamson inked it. And then we come to the end, and this is Iron Man. I already have this issue, but it's $1. It's Barry Windsor Smith, as you can see. I've forgotten that Bob Layton inked this. Did an excellent job. And you always get, look at the insane colors from Barry Windsor Smith. And yeah, you can see, and that looks very much like Machine Man, which he came back to comics with that, working over Herb Trimpe. And so there you go. That's the HeroesCon's most eclectic haul ever. No one can top it.
You shake my hand, say pleased to meet you. Look me in the eye!